everybody. Welcome to 90 Minutes of Wisdom. I'm super excited. The channel dedicated to helping you expand your knowledge and develop a more successful and peaceful mind. Today we have a special guest. Very excited to share with all of you, who is an energy healer and a spiritual teacher. Her name is Inge Brouwer. And welcome, Inge.
Thank you, Andrew. I'm so excited for this. This is very
Me
cool.
too. Me too. So you want to maybe tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Yeah, energy healer and spiritual teacher means that sort of from the beginning of my journey in this profession, I have been helping people reclaim their power, reclaim who they are, reconnect to who they really are. Not like who you think you are, not who you think you should be, but who you really are. And that is really freaking phenomenal and beautiful. So that's been my work. And then with some time, I have also developed some courses and teaching these things where there's different methods for you to reconnect deeper again with yourself as well.
Sure, that sounds super cool. So, like, what would you say when someone comes to you and they're, maybe they're feeling a little bit lost or a little bit, and they're like,
Mm,
they reach out and they say, Inga, I'm feeling like maybe there's more, And I
mhm,
know there's like these levels, right? So there's like they talk about the ego self, and one of my uh, I'm known for all the quotes I know, and one of the quotes is just like it's like a statue where you have like you think of yourself and it's like this rock all around you and it's chiseling off the ego, chiseling it off, and when you're left it's like the inner you, the true you, which is
mm,
in some sense like God, when you've
mhm.
removed that personality. So maybe you want to speak to that a bit.
Well, fully agree with that. There's this image that I use in my marketing really often. It's this like statue, and then there's these like cracks of light. So it's like nourishing that inner part of you enough so it can like brighten out from the inside, and the rocks, those formations can start crumbling. But to really talk about that first question, I think it's so important because so many people feel that way, and myself too. I go through those phases as well, where it's like unclear and it feels muddy and it feels something's off, but you can't put your finger on it. And what I say or what I think about when that's happening is actually like you knowing that something is off is you already connecting with the bigger you. Already that voice of your intuition, that voice of you can call it your soul, your higher self, whatever the hell you want to call it, it doesn't matter, is already talking to you, is already sparking that like, hey, something's off, something's out of alignment. You're not utilizing your gifts in the ways that you want to, because I really believe that that's like a very human impulse. Like we want to develop our gifts and we want to develop them in such a way that they're going to be in service to the world around us. And that's like the most beautiful thing that we all have, and that's one of the things it means to be human. But we don't all have the privilege or the time to really honor that sense of lostness and honor the gifts that can come from it. So really, to kind of sum that up, like when that happens, I get really excited for the person I'm talking to because I know there's gifts on the other side. And I know that if we pull that thread enough and in the right way and with gentleness and with skill and with a lot of patience and grace, there's magic. There's magic on the other side. There's something wanting to awaken in you. So yeah, I get hella excited when someone says that.
Uh, Awesome, awesome. Can you, um, without naming any names, but could you tell us maybe a story of like one person that came to you
Sure.
and was like, maybe not, as you said, started to felt that kind of pull, which I think, I'm a big believer also in Einstein's quote of being a vibrational match, right? Whatever you vibrate with,
Yeah.
so this is the thing. It's not, it's spiritual, and it's in it from a spiritual way, but it's not spiritual. He says it's not spiritual, it's physics. It's just, if you're whatever your vibrational match to, you'll attract, and
Hmm.
that's it. And that's an amazing thing. So I feel that when somebody comes to you to seek out you, it's that vibration. Okay, so
Hmm.
there's that match. So it's, they're looking in the universe for something. So the universe says, oh, you know what, you should meet Inge, right? And
Yeah.
she can help you, but only when you're like that, again, quote, and it's probably going to say this a lot during this call, but that quote to that, when the student is ready, the teacher or the
Uh-huh.
master will
Yeah.
show up, right?
Okay, so first of all, it is so freaking true in my experience. It's like it's law, like to that degree. Um, and what's really interesting for me as a practitioner, like when I've just worked through something, like when I've just done some big healing work or looked at my own lostness and pulled that thread through and found the new clarity and found the new gift, people show up like right after being like, hey, I need exactly what I just went through. So it's such a cool system. And having done this for 8 years now, like it's just so clockwork consistent. So to answer your question, somebody comes to mind, somebody I worked with right before the quarantine started. And what I do with my clients before they become my clients is we do something I call a discovery call. So just 30 minutes on the phone just to get to know each other, no pressure whatsoever. My intention is just to get to know the person I'm talking to and seeing if I'm a good fit, because I'm not a good fit for everybody.
Sure. And
But
those, just to interrupt for 1 second, those can be found on ingebrower.com, right?
yes,
For
yes,
anyone that's
that's
interested in that. Okay, cool.
right. Thank you. So on that call, I think I asked a simple question that I ask all the time is she was telling me something and I could hear the emotion in her voice and I could hear how charged it was. And I asked her just, how does that resonate? How does that feel in the body? Because the body is where a lot of the intelligence is. And it's also where a lot of our blocked intelligence is. So it's a question I often pose to take us out of the mind because we're more than a mind. And the waterworks just started. And this is not uncommon. It's so normal. Emotion is just energy moving. So it's just, we're getting in touch with something real, and then tears show up. And I just listened for the half hour we had, and she was really, really in a tough place. And um, within 2 sessions, she got a package of five. My 5 session package is called Reconnect because that's really the point of it, to reconnect yourself. But after only 2 sessions, she was already experiencing so much peace, so much clarity about the direction of her work, which was the thing that was really weighing on her. She was feeling clarity around where she was living, which is something she was super lost about. Her back pain went away. um, 2 sessions. But that's not weird in my world, because once we help you reconnect really to your own knowing and to your own path, these things just happen. Clarity returns, body stops hurting, the emotions chill. Yeah, and then the quarantine hit, so then she's got 3 more for when she needs. And yeah,
Right.
so
Yeah, okay, that's
that's an
cool. Super
example.
cool. So yeah, it was, I can see that sometimes, as you said, and I like that analogy that you use often. It's saying that it's like pulling that piece of string, like
Mm,
unraveling that thing. That, or and then sometimes you refer to as blocks. I'm a big believer of that. I've seen that when something gets
yeah.
unstuck, unblocked, and how it can change. And that's why it's so interesting when you look at all these things, and like, The Secret and creation of your reality and stuff like that, and then you think of all on affirmations, and I understand how they all kind of work together, okay, and
Mhm.
how without different things that you could say, oh, that doesn't work. But it's not that it doesn't work. It's that you don't realizing that there's another aspect to it, right? So let's say
Mm-hmm.
you're saying the
Oh,
affirmations, you're doing the visualizations, but you have a block, right? And then you're not addressing that block. Now, maybe slowly it'll be like melting away a little bit at a time by
mm-hmm.
doing those positive things, but it
Mm-hmm.
could be not like, and you say, oh, it doesn't work, but it's not that it doesn't work. It's that, and then the other thing is timing. So like people
Mm-hmm.
in our society, they want to, you know, microwave something in 3 minutes, eat in 4 minutes, stuff like that, right? So some of
Yeah.
this work, it's work, and it takes, and that's great. You have those results, like really cool, unblock, and boom, it unleashes that power. You have those quick results. But sometimes other things, it could be such a process and of
Mm-hmm.
using those
Yeah.
affirmations, of building, of changing. And sometimes like when water boils, you just, you know, it keeps getting hotter and hotter and hotter, and there's nothing, nothing, nothing. But once the water is boiling, you can reduce it to minimum, and it keeps boiling, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I
Good
find
point.
that interesting. Yeah, it's very interesting on that. And yeah, I'd be like, and it's great that you're able to help people in that way. And so what do you find like for yourself? Like I was on a webinar the other day, and it was really cool. The guy was talking about, I forget who it was, and he was talking about you know, having hygiene, like brushing your teeth, taking a shower, all that, and then having
Mm-hmm.
mental hygiene, right? That
Mm-hmm.
you have to do every day. It's like, okay, so just because, oh, like, oh, and Inga, I don't have to brush my teeth because I brushed my teeth yesterday, or I don't have to take a shower. I took a shower last week. Like, it's just crazy, right? So people say like,
Yes.
oh, well, I meditated last week. You know, I'm fine. You know,
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
So what, maybe you can speak a bit
Being
about
included.
like, yeah, that that you know, mental kind of spiritual
Yeah.
you know, hygiene, and how to do that every day.
Okay, so I've been on this journey for a while, and I'm gonna say right off the bat, discipline, not my strong suit. Really, I'm kind of built for flow and improvisation, and so discipline, like what you're pointing to, like doing those things every single day, I've had to learn the hard way. Um, for me, meditation is definitely a must. That's how my journey into this started. And I've definitely, in the beginning, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this every day. And so I would do relatively small, so like 10 minutes every day. And then, you know, like I would start feeling so good. My teeth would be so clean. And then I was like, hey, everybody, look at my big, clean smile. I'm doing so good. Yay. And then I just kind of stopped meditating because, hey, I'm feeling so good. And then inevitably, something would happen that shows me, my emotional intelligence, my capacity to stay centered is really not as strong as it needs to be. So then I would, in the beginning, I'd get really hard on myself. I'm like, oh my God, how come this, da, 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 da. And then that would move through. And then eventually I'd sit my butt down on the meditation cushion again and start over. But for a long time, I was in that cycle until I, I kind of decided that I wanted a new standard. I wanted a new normal for myself. And that new normal was going to be, yes, my emotional intelligence is always going to be present. My capacity to find my center, my capacity to notice when I'm flying off the handle. My new standard for myself is that I am able to notice that quickly and come back to center. And that's for me what the meditation practice really is. So once I kind of set that new standard, the daily practice became way easier. And then from there, you know, there's another level. So then from 10 minutes, it goes to 20 minutes, goes to using different practices, it goes to using different tools.
Yeah,
I'm
so
huge.
yeah,
Yeah.
on that subject, yeah, on different tools and stuff like that. So besides
Yeah.
meditation, do you use like vision boards, affirmations,
I
prayers? Like what
use
other
them
things
all.
do you? Yeah, all of the
Yeah.
above. Yeah.
Oh, there's okay, I get so excited about tools because this world gets to get so creative. but you absolutely have to see what's going on and be willing to see the truth of what's going on. So that's why, like, for me, meditation is you don't question that, because meditation helps you see exactly what is, and it helps you sort of learn not to be so hard on yourself, like I was kind of alluding to, that wasn't easy for me to learn. So you come back, anyways, mindfulness meditation, you come back and you just accept your humanness. So that needs to be there. But once that's there, the tools you can use are insane. You can create your whole reality. And it's just so exciting. Like, you can tell. So yes, I've used affirmations. I've used vision boards, were a huge favorite. But I also really like thinking of our healing tools as very basic things, like going for a walk in nature and listening to the birds sing, listening to a really good podcast that inspires you. To me, that is a tool. Making yourself a really good lunch, like doing it with care and preparing it in a way that honors and respects your temple, your body, like all of that are tools. And I really like seeing everything available at that level. And sometimes when I'm sick, I can't do the vision boards because I'm feeling like crap, my like nose is stuffy, etc. Then my self-care tool is going to be sleep. And then sleep and vision board are on the same like level. They're both as important. And so like navigating the different levels, like really listening to what you need, takes away all of the pressure we can feel around using tools. Because I've seen that a lot, like because I teach Reiki. It's a practice where you're letting universal healing energy through you and bringing it in. I've accompanied at least 100 people through a 21-day journey of self-healing. And people get a little bit nuts when they put a lot of pressure on themselves. So I found myself telling my students, like, no, actually, for you, self-care right now, the healing thing is don't do your Reiki. Do it,
Yeah.
or do it badly, do it wrongly. And that to me is like really the truth of using a tool appropriately. It really needs to go with what you're needing at the time.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, well said, well said. And then, sometimes when people say to me, like, I hear a bunch of things, you probably heard the same. Like, one is I hear is like, oh, I can't meditate, or I tried meditating and I couldn't do it, right? And then other people, they say to me, oh, I meditate, and I'm like, okay, cool, like, tell me how, and tell me. And then some people, they just, what they describe as meditation is is a form, but it's just like kind of relaxing their mind, which is great, and not taking anything away from that. But there is levels, like there's so many levels and deeper levels of meditation. So I
yeah.
meditate every day, but I only go to, and Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this a lot, about going into that theta state. So like you have your different
Mm,
alpha, beta, theta, and then going into that state where you're you're nobody, no one, no thing, no
mm,
object, when you become one with the universe. Now, I've gone there, and I'm lucky that through years of meditation, I'm able to go there. But I don't go there every day. Okay, I
mhm,
don't go to that zone every day. But I will. Like just 2 days ago, I was meditating, and I just had, I guess, kind of the perfect amount of exercise, food.
mm,
It was the temperature in my room. I just had that perfect amount. Like everything was just lined up. So I started off with some prayers, and then I started doing some meditation, and then I started going deeper and deeper. And then I started getting inspired, and not. I don't want to talk about too. It could sound like like I'm insane or anything. So I don't go too far on it. But and then these levels start kicking in. So one of these levels is is when your third eye fully opens, like you feel like this
mm,
pressure, right, like there. Okay, so that's like one level. There's many people I know that they're like, I meditate. I'm like, but have you ever, and they don't even know, like the first time you're opening your third eye, it hurts. It's like a drawbridge, like it's like
mhm,
a rusty drawbridge opening, right? And then you get used to opening and closing your third eye, it becomes easier. Okay, and then some people, like they're like, they've never like they don't know what I'm talking about. So I'm like, okay, well, how deep of a meditation have you gone? Like what, and I'm talking about scientifically, like as in what, how many cycles per second your brain running, and where did you ever
Mm,
even get to that theta state? And I gone to that, when I go to that theta state, and I feel that immense peace and that immense joy. And on occasion or often when I do that is I have a tear that comes down my,
mm,
and it's not, I'm not like crying like meh or like a baby or something like that, but I have this tear that comes in because of it's so much emotion, and it's so peaceful, and it's so full of love, and it's so detached of everything that, and I'm so like just enjoy the vibrational, again, like power versus force, the vibrational chart, it somewhere between like love and joy, right, is where I'm residing in that vibration. And when I'm staying in that vibration, staying in that vibration consistently, for this meditation, you can't help but feel just unusually good, let's say, so better than good. So that's one thing too, when people say, oh, I meditate, and my first thought is, well, okay, that's cool, but like how, and how deep, and tell me more,
mhm.
yeah. So I don't know if you have
Medi-
some thoughts on that.
yeah, meditation is such a broad field, and it can be so broadly defined. And I really don't think that's wrong. Um, but what I do, one of the hmm, how to how to piece this together. So I find it's a really interesting question to ask if somebody is saying like I meditate every day. Is really to ask like what exactly are you doing inside of yourself? Because like outside of ourselves, we can do a million different things. Inside of ourselves, we can do a million different things too.
Yes.
Um, so like one helpful distinction is like a visualization versus maybe a mindfulness practice. So a visualization might be to hold a certain image in your mind, or to have a certain aim or goal in your being that you're kind of moving towards, which is great if that's what you want to develop in your life. Like fantastic. Like athletes use visualization to get better at their skills.
Yeah, there was, just on that, is one of the greatest stories is the Chicago Bulls, when
Yeah,
they won all those championships. And before, in the locker room, it's Phil Jackson, the coach, was the coach? Yeah, right.
I
And
can't.
anyways, he would make them do, they're all on lily pads, and they would meditate, and they're all on lily pads, and they're working together as a unit. And like,
Mm.
other people on other teams like, what do you mean? Whereas the other coaches are like, we're gonna get out there and we're gonna crush them and stuff like that. And he's like, no,
Yeah,
you're all on lily pads. And they did it. And you know what? They won over and over and over because they
really
functioned
cool.
as one unit, right? Really, really.
Yeah, there's so many parts to that because there's a lot of invisible to us humans. And there's a lot underneath the surface that through these practices we can tap into, and we can start um, affecting change in. Controlling is not the right word. That's the word I was kind of hesitating to
You're
use,
right,
but we
right.
can affect change. So I didn't know about this like lily pad thing. But if you think about a sports team, a level of connection between the players and them functioning as a unit is so valuable. So if you can create that in a meditative visualization space by having lily pads, that's brilliant. Um, because it is also possible,
Yeah.
as this is a perfect demonstration. Also, like things like another really concrete example of this stuff is they had like people in a cast, like let's say they broke both their legs, and they had them imagine that one leg they would like do a certain exercise with, but the other one was just like in the cast. And at the end of however many months they were in the cast, they could see like the leg that they visualized actually moving had lost so much less muscle than the other one.
Yes,
So
yes. It's amazing. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, there's piano. They did that with basketball, with piano
yeah,
playing, and they proved.
exactly.
So they said, like with piano playing, if it was playing anything in random, it didn't make a difference. But if it was a certain exercise, whether you played it
Uh-huh.
physically on the piano or imagine playing that exact exercise, you got the same improvement. You improve the same as the person actually playing on the
Yeah.
piano. And with basketball, if you visualize shooting that 3-pointer every day or that foul shot every day, you actually got just as good as if you were actually on the court, which is amazing. I try to tell it. It's funny. I say weekly try to bring that up to somebody whenever they're asking me for something
Yeah.
like, oh, this is difficult, this is a challenge. I'm like, okay, so do it, but then do the visualization of it. They're like, I'm scared to do this, or I'm scared to,
Yeah.
this is okay. So I'm like, okay, so, but if you do it in visualization, you have the same results. And if you get having too much anxiety about it, you can just like, well, you're in bed, you're safe. You just like change your mentality,
Yeah.
like, oh, okay,
Exactly
you
right.
know. So it's
That's
fine. So
exactly right.
why not do that first before going into that physical realm and
Yeah.
challenging yourself, right?
And actually, that's exactly how I work with my clients. It's not so much that, let's say they want to start a business. Okay. They don't really know yet what it is, but they want to know, they want to go in that direction. So I have them like imagine that 5 years from now they're in their business, for instance. And as they're imagining it, they're creating what they like, they're creating what they don't like. But also what we were talking about earlier, like that matching of the vibration, what often almost always shows up is the blocks to that becoming their real truth also show up.
Mm,
So then they'll like imagine it and they're like, oh no, I can't see it. I feel really too anxious. I don't like it. I'm thinking of my boss. Da, 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 da. So whatever shows up, that's where we work to unblock. So, okay, the boss shows up. Perfect. What does the boss have to do with creating the business? Maybe there's a relationship dynamic there that they're afraid they're going to bring into their business, which is not going to serve, which means they can't be the boss or whatever.
mm,
So that needs to be worked on first. They need to be able to feel boss enough in their own energy to be able to create that business down the line. So when people talk about meditation, they might be doing some version of that, where visualization can be really, really helpful if you have a goal in mind. So, what you're doing is you're training your whole system to be a match to the thing you want to create. Super simple. But there's
mm.
going to be things in the way. So, even imagining it is tough, which is a
Yeah.
funny thing because we should be able to imagine anything. No.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. But you know what? That's something that's not talked about a lot. But some people are fantastic at imagining stuff, like children,
Yeah.
and other
Yeah.
people cannot imagine like at all. Like they just have like a
Yeah.
blank. It's crazy. It's. I didn't know
Yeah.
that. I actually found
It's
that
really interesting.
not even though we think in pictures, they can't hold like that picture long enough to visualize. And
Yeah.
people that can, I think it's a tremendous gift to be able to do that because you can, you're showing because there's always the way I always look at things is conscious versus subconscious mind. So
Yeah.
you're using the 5%, the small conscious mind, to direct the subconscious. And one a great way to use the conscious mind is through visualization, showing you're trying to imprint and
Exactly.
teach the subconscious mind what it is that you want. So I mean, I do that too. I do like my lazy meditations are guided meditations. So I do one with
Yeah.
from Bob Proctor that's on abundance meditation. I do another one from Mary
Yeah.
Kate, Nurka. So I do these different ones, and each of them are fantastic and serve a different purpose. But it's like and it is a form of meditation. But you know what I mean. But it's very different from
It's
the
so different.
yeah, it's very different from the theta, like, okay, I'm going to become one
Yeah.
with the mountain and the sun and the stars,
Yeah.
it's a different.
Exactly. So it's helpful to parse that out because we don't have a vocabulary for these things yet. It's not because we're stupid or dumb. It's just that everybody uses the word meditation for different things. So we need to create a bit of a different vocabulary.
Yeah, as you know, I wrote a book on vocabulary and
Yes,
smart
that's
guide
right.
to stop using stupid words. And what I couldn't agree more. Like it's when they say that certain people that live up north have like 25 different words for snow, right? Depending
Mhm.
on the different things. We just
Mhm.
say snow because snow or no snow, right? That's all we have as
Yeah.
looking at it. And I find that the English language is so limited, and I'm speaking to other people that speak different languages, and they were saying that that's why one of the reasons why there's so many lawsuits and so much misunderstanding, because it's the same, we have the same word and it could be interpreted so many different ways, but some other
Mhm.
languages are actually much more accurate. They couldn't mean A, B, or C, where in English it could
Mhm.
mean a multitude of different things. So we could be speaking to
Mhm.
each other and then cause a lot of pain, right? A lot of like miscommunication. And you're like, well, no, I thought I
Yeah.
expressed that, but the way that you framed it and the way you understood what I was saying was something different,
Exactly.
right? And then it causes friction, right? So I couldn't agree more. I think that there's I think there's certain words I eliminate from my vocabulary, and I just went into a video yesterday by this lady Sunny, and she was talking about that abundance. She was talking about all the words she never uses. It was so interesting because it was exactly the kind of stuff that I was talking about. So there's like sick, like I never use that word. So I say
Mhm.
not healthy, right? So
Mhm.
I negate it
Mhm.
because it's like like the common thing. Don't think of a pink elephant. You have to think of a pink elephant. So I only try to visualize or think and use words that, so I'll negate the positive and I won't use the negative
Mhm.
word. So I find that that's a huge thing. And all these little, like these, again, it's a little tweak. It's not going to change your entire life, but that tweak plus the meditation, plus the affirmations, plus the vision
Yeah.
board, plus the thing, and like it all adds up. And even for myself, I'm very, very hard on myself. And if I, like yesterday, I broke a glass. I dropped one glass left in washing dishes, and it slipped and it broke. And I wasn't upset or anything, but I said, why was I a vibrational match to breaking a glass?
Mhm.
What was I thinking? Because there's nothing. It has to be. Like that's how, to what level. So and wasn't angry or upset over breaking that glass. Was just like, what was I thinking? And I'm not going to share that thought, but I know the thought that I was thinking, and the thought that I was thinking was not a good thought.
Huh?
Just prior to that, I was thinking of a negative thing just came into my mind, and a negative thing came into my mind, and then I broke the glass, and then I popped my vibration back up, and I was like, it's so crazy. It's like and it's very difficult to speak about sometimes, because when you say to somebody and they're like, oh, I was at the bank and like, you know, and this happened, I was in a lineup and someone was rude to me and the bank teller wouldn't serve me and they closed the thing. I'm like, and I always looking from the other point of view, okay, being like, okay, like, well, why were you a vibrational match for that? Right? Like, so like to me, it's quite obvious. So I was looking at like a balance, like the left and the right side of a balance and saying, well, you're a vibrational match. So don't like, that's what I'm looking at. So when somebody complains, um, to me, I'm like, okay, well, like to me, they sound silly because like, I'm like, you got to address like why. And if you can figure out why you're a vibrational match, then you will never be in that situation again. So, certain things, like you said before, flow, synchronicity of things. I remember years ago, I used to work at HMV Music Store, and I used to pick my lunch by the lineup. So I would go with a blank thing. I would say,
Mhm.
whatever's the shortest line, the universe would provide me the shortest line. That's what I would have for lunch, So even if I was really in the mood for something, but there was a long lineup, okay, that's just not in synchronicity for me. It's not in flow for me. And every time I would go to the shortest line, it would be like the best meal. I'd be like, that's so good. It's so good today, It's
Cool.
even
That's
better,
good.
that thing. So
Yeah.
I just follow that. And so many things in life, if it doesn't flow, it's not easy. I find myself banging my head against something and it's just becoming difficult. I say, whoa, like why? What is the universe trying to tell me?
Mm.
What am I vibrating at? So it's always giving you clues. It's like they say that 20% of reality, you can only process 20% of reality, of
Mm.
whatever it is. And the other 80% you can't. And it depends on your filters. And that's why it's so important to have these affirmations and these things, so that you're seeing that 20%, the opportunities in life, the beauty in life,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
those things, right? To have that kind of mentality. So, I look and sometimes and I say, because if you go into that with a negative frame of mind, you could miss the most amazing things. And I find that the universe or nature, God, or whatever you want to call it, it's always leaving breadcrumbs. It's always leaving you clues. And even if you think back on your day, like if something happened, they left me so many clues. And I missed, like, it's not like one clue. Like they left one clue and like, oh, there's one breadcrumb. No, they left like 10, that I could notice. Maybe there was 20 or 30, but I could trace back and say, oh my God, like just minor things. I had like a minor accident, in my car, but they told me, don't leave. And I was even on the phone with my mom, and I was like, something, I get this feeling, and I just want to get home and not leave. But then I got home, and I have this habit of going to the gym every day. So I really, really wanted to go to the gym. And then they got this feeling, don't leave. But I went anyways, right? Because I'm like, I just, it's my habit. I have to go to the gym. It makes me feel so good. So I go to the gym, and sure enough, as I leave the gym, someone's coming behind, and I end up, just to avoid them, and I end up like hitting this other car, and like nothing crazy, but I was just like,
Mm.
oh man, and it ended up costing me like $500 mistake, and all this stuff, and like my car's fine now, but it's just they're like, I told you so, like, like what else do you want? You had so many things. So the
Mhm.
more you get in tune with those, it's on everything, and nothing is too important or not important enough to have a sign for,
Yeah.
which is really interesting too. Like even if you're gonna like burn a lasagna, they'll give you a sign like you're gonna burn your lasagna. It doesn't matter. It's like the simplest
Mm.
things too. I also have this kind of rule, and I wrote about it a bit in my book. It was, when there's 3 things that happen bad when I wake up in the morning, that's it. My day is done. And thank God it's been years since I've had another incident like that. But when I have
Mhm.
like get up, let's say there's no hot water, okay, for some reason, like, can't happen now because I'm in a condo, but it was an apartment building. Sometimes would happen where they shut off the hot water for that day or whatever because they're repairing something. There's no hot water. You run out of coffee. You break something. You drop your toothbrush in the toilet. Like, just like
That's
3
a
or
lot.
4 things happen, and then it's like it's it. Like I would just, like, that's it. Like, go back to bed. Like that day is done, because there's like, you're so out of flow, out of synchronicity, to go back, meditate, do whatever, like get
Mm.
reset, like basically reset. And like you said
Mm.
before, sometimes
Mhm.
sleep is that thing. Sleep is, I mean, could speak hours on sleep alone. They say that, depending on what you read, they're always trying to study, like, why do we need sleep and how much sleep do we need, and there's the different ways. There's all these sleep experts and courses and webinars and stuff like that. It's very, very interesting. And REM sleep, and
Mm.
what do you really need to sleep as a human, and then why. That they can never really answer the why, but um, it is interesting. It's like what I've read, and what each person can believe what they want, but it's like kind of like you're going back. I feel like when you're asleep, your spirit is going back home, you know,
Mm.
and then it comes back to here. So it needs that break from
Mm.
here.
Mm.
And that interesting thing when they say, um, or spirits in our body, but it's the opposite. Our body's in our spirit, and the spirit's
Mhm.
bigger. And this is, so it's like kind of these little clues when you meet somebody and they say, "Oh, well, I meditate," because I've like, and I'll be honest with you, I have like it's an annoying thing when people think they're spiritual and they're not. It's a kind of like it really, I don't know, kind of gets to me when they're fake spiritual people. I don't know how to say it. I went to there was at the what's the Olympic Stadium? No, it was somewhere downtown. I can't remember. And there was like, they have these spiritual shows, and so I went to check it out. I was like, okay, this sounds interesting. And oh my God, like everybody's just trying to sell you like some magic stone or some magic crystal that's gonna like solve all your problems, right? Or this kind of thing. And it was just like, it was so low vibration, and just seeing all the people there, it was just like, it was really like, it was like just so, not to say there wasn't some great people or some well-intentioned people there, but it's just like,
Mhm.
first thing is, if you're looking outside for the answers, you won't
Mm.
find them because they're inside. And that's what I love what you do, is you help people go inside, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, I share that with you. What really what really helped me with that is two things. One, we're all these incredible, complex universes of information. Like every single one of us is a universe of magic. And um, as humans, we've been very much attuned to trying to find hierarchies. Am I better? Am I worse? Am I better? Am I
Mm.
worse? And that is one of the ego things it likes to do. Like it's trying to find like, where do I position myself? And I think it's wonderful that we are valuing as a society meditation and spirituality a little bit more. I wanted to come back to all the different ways of meditation. Oh, okay. I'll just like jump in where I remember like the idea that I really had.
Sure.
You might have to edit this part out. We'll see. So I wanted to come back to that piece about meditation and why. So you've got visualization. Another category might be mindfulness. Exactly. And then there's a few other ones I think that are really interesting to unpack that I'm less familiar with. But as we're talking about like being a match in our vibration to certain things, what I think is so important to realize is that we're not just a subject to the thoughts that pop into our head. We don't have to have a thought and then be like panicked, like I had a bad thought, now bad things are going to happen. We actually have a lot of creative control over our vibration, over what we're vibing out. And one of the ways to have that creative control is through visualization, is through like that. It's really a way to bridge the conscious mind and the unconscious mind and to bring the unconscious conscious and then to shift it and change it and then change our whole vibration, our whole reality that moves from there. So it's really cool. But to be able to do that, you need to be able to like know that a thought popped into your head. So the mindfulness skill is freaking important to be able to come back to the present moment again and again and again and again and be aware of what is happening in your inner garden, in your
Yeah.
field. And
Yeah. Well, you know
from
what?
there
Yeah.
you can make choices.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
to interrupt, I think it's really cool the way you said that is because it reminds me of like dreams. You know, like when you're in a dream, it's kind of like you're, skiing and then you're like, I want to read a book. And then suddenly you're in front of a fireplace reading a book, like with no, and everything's normal. Like doesn't matter that you were just skiing. It all makes sense in your head or whatever.
Yes.
I think that's really cool. So I think it's, when you said about thoughts, and it's okay, like if you have that, negative thought or that thing, that it's okay. And I believe that because we have this luxury of time. So it's like we don't have
Yeah.
like thought and then it's created like a dream, right? Like bing bang, and you don't
Exactly.
think of like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man and suddenly there's a big marshmallow man, like like you have that luxury, you have that time that
Yeah, reality is already crazy enough.
yeah, you have, yeah, exactly. So it's okay. Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
It works for the like positively and negatively. So yeah, you might
Yeah.
not be able to create the $1 million going, I want $1 million, boom, and it appears in front of you.
Yeah.
But if you keep like that focus and the
Yeah.
visualization, you can get what you want. And the same way, if you take something negative, like then it's okay also because you can kind of like, okay,
Mm.
put that back, right,
Yeah.
to where you're going.
That's, I think my favorite analogy for that is like for momentum is a train going.
Mhm.
So if it's going in the direction of like what you don't want, instead of like pushing really hard to make it go in the direction that you do want, maybe just stop feeding the engine. Just
Right.
like let it slow down until it like slows down enough that you can start bringing it into the other direction.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
so
no, but that's an amazing point. Just in and of itself is like momentum. Like there's a great quote again, nothing succeeds like success. And when
mm,
things are going well, they're just going better. And when they're going
mm-hmm.
poorly, they continue to go poorly. I remember this about I used to play poker professionally for a few
Mm,
years. And I remember one of the key information I would get from people at the beginning of the poker game was asking everyone about their lives. So it's always different people and different things. So
mm-hmm.
when you had somebody and they said, oh, I just got a new job and I'm in a new relationship and I'm so happy. It's like, okay, watch this guy. He's probably going to be he's on a positive momentum. He's probably going to get some pretty good cards, attract some good, he's in a good place, right? And then you have the other person, which just sounds so it's going to sound so awful in 2 seconds, but then you have the guy who said the opposite. I just lost my job and I might be evicted and this and that. And you're like, well, this guy's kind of on a losing losing train, so he's
Yeah.
probably not going to do so well tonight, right? So but getting that little bit of information and generally would work out that way because they're in either a positive, some people are in a neutral, and some people are in a negative, they're in a downtrend. Downtrends kind of
Mhm.
continues, and it's I guess I don't listen too much to country music or at all, but the kind of when they make jokes about country music about losing, this it's the whole thing. It's this whole train
And
of
it's so specific. It's
right,
true.
right, right. So I think it's good. I think, and
Yeah.
then if you want, you can also use that by having that knowledge to your advantage, saying, okay, you know what? And that's why I say the best thing to do in the morning is wake up and you make your bed. So you start off with a win. So you write down the night before
Mhm.
your goals, your list of things. And then you say so you always want to have those things. So you kind of fix it in your favor. You say, okay, you know what? I'm going to do, this amount of exercise. Then you do it. Oh, that's ticked off. So each thing you do is giving you more positive momentum, right? So
Mhm.
why not just do
So
easy
true.
ones? You can put, I guess it would work I'm going to eat one cookie. And that's on your list, from the night before. So when you start losing momentum, you go and you eat that cookie and you're like, tick it off, man. I did it. I did. Yeah, exactly. I ate that cookie, I feel I'm accomplishing what I set out to accomplish for the day, and if eating that cookie was on your list, well, you just tick something off. So I think that there's hacks for that too, I guess.
Totally.
Yeah, yeah.
And that comes back to our conversation around tools and different levels of tools. That cookie becomes a tool.
Mm, yeah.
And at the level where you're at, and it's just fun to play at the level that you're at, because then you really get the results rather than your freight train is going in the
Yeah.
direction you don't want, and you're trying to affirm and you're trying to visualize your $1,000,000 and you're trying to push this freight train the other
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
That gets tiring, and that gets painful, and you
It-
get flattened by the
yeah.
train. It's not bad to do it, but
Mm.
yeah, you
Yeah,
got
I
to
know
have some
it's really
intelligence.
hard. It's really difficult, a challenge that even in my own life when I see when things start going unraveling, they unravel quickly, and it's difficult to, as you said, to stop that train because it's hard to realize that it's the train and then it's gained momentum and then it has all this fuel and then all that's happening and then once you realize it you're like, oh my god, right? So that's why we're saying to
Mm,
try to do these things okay, raise your vibration or something. Sometimes I'll just, okay, meditate, that's it, just go into gratitude meditation, these kind of things to try to get yourself out of it, to break that pattern, right? Because something happens, like I was saying, exactly like
yeah.
you said with this train, that you go and you burn your dinner and then this happens and then you miss the call and then and it's just keeps going. It has this weird way of momentum and yeah, so I think that's good. That's a really good point. So you were saying mindfulness,
Hmm.
visualization,
Yeah.
talking about yeah.
And within mindfulness, it's such a simple practice to come back to the present moment without judging. But that can really get you so into some crazy, crazy spaces. Because then as you practice that, there's maybe less and less resistance to the moment. There's less and less wanting to be different than what it is. And what you start being able to do is really just observe it as it is. And from that observer witnessing stance, you start seeing more and more layers of reality,
Mm,
which includes that we're not separate, that there is this field of oneness that we're all part of. And as long as we're attaching and as long as we're resisting the details of our own lives, then it's harder to perceive that truth. But it exists.
yeah.
So,
No, for
um,
sure. But I
yeah.
think for everyone, including myself, that you have these standard deviations from a vibration. So you have a certain
Mm,
vibrational level, okay, that I go higher at night when I
mm,
meditate, and then lower when I'm in everyday life. And I think that, some
mhm,
people get bogged down with their work life, stuff like that, with life itself just throwing all these things at you. And then
mm,
their vibrational level goes down. I have like one friend in particular where when he's in work mode, he's like a different person. You
mm.
can't speak to him at all if he's in work mode. But after work mode, he becomes like super friendly and nice and everything. If
Mhm.
you call him during the workday, he's like, "What do you want? Why are you calling me?" Like it becomes like
Yeah.
very aggressive and very unfriendly. And then after the minute it's like 5:30 onwards, you call him big laughs. How are you? And so it was really amazing to see that.
Cool.
It's very distinct things, almost like two different people. So I look at it and try to keep my raise my vibrations, hopefully every day, to a higher point with less standard deviations, right? So less
Mm,
dropping. Like how far does it
mhm,
drop? Can you get it to drop a little bit less every
mhm.
day? And the key is that, like, if
It's
you're a
beautiful.
vibrational match to everything you desire and everything that you know what I mean, then that's it. That's like in itself, it's like, I guess, the secret to life. It's, if you could figure that out, easy to say and to read and to write down, but it's something completely different
But it
to do.
does come alive when you start living that.
Yeah.
And because it does happen
Yeah, it does.
that way. And it's just a lot of fun, honestly. Well, it's a lot of fun to orient yourself towards what you're wanting. But I mean, let's like be very real. A lot of people don't know what they want, including me. I'm not so good at knowing what I want. But it's powerful to know sometimes
There's
what you don't want.
Yeah, well, there's two things on that. One is there's a quote that says, "I hope I get what I want before I stop wanting it." And
Mm,
another one is to say that, don't when you affirm, when you say, "I want more money," you're telling your mind, you're putting yourself into a
yeah,
vibration of wanting, right? And that's a classic mistake that people say. So
yeah,
it's like they start getting the opposite results when they start saying, "I want more money, I want more money." Then your subconscious mind is like, okay, well, he wants to create a situation where he wants to want money. So
there you go. Yeah,
it's these subtle things, that makes all the difference, right? So that's where you can't go wrong with gratitude and appreciation. Thank you for everything I have. Oh, he's
yeah,
thankful for all he has, maybe, or she has. Maybe we should give them more. you know,
yeah,
be thankful for it, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Anyways,
knowing what we value, what's
yeah. So
important to us.
sure, for sure. So, do you have any closing thoughts that you want to share with everyone?
Um, I guess I don't know. It would be my big wish, um, my big desire, my big want for everybody to know that uh, that there is more, that there is more. Really, there is more, and the answers you're looking for and the way towards what you are wanting. Um, your intuition is your guide. And if you don't know how to listen to your intuition, that's cool because you can learn and your intuition can guide you to how to learn. And just taking things one little baby mini step at a time by being honest with where you're at, being honest with where you don't want to go, where you do want to go, just that can really help you become re-empowered and know that you can really create what you want to create. So if everybody could really know that in their own heart of hearts, you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to know much. You just have to have a willingness to learn and a willingness to apply what you learn, and you're golden.
Awesome, awesome.
So
So, look, just on that
yeah.
closing note, do you want to just give the spelling of your website for everyone, just one last time, in case they're blocked? Anyone's listening is like blocked or stuck, that you can maybe help them through.
Yeah. So if you are feeling blocked and stuck, my number one tip for you would be to look at that block and stuck and ask yourself, what is this block or stuck something trying to do for me? Because sometimes we're blocked and stuck because we don't want to go in the direction we're headed. So if you're blocked or stuck in the job that you hate, maybe it's because it's a job you hate and you don't want to go forward in it. And so this blocked and stuck is trying to wake you up to the fact that actually um, you're wanting something else. And it's maybe not the most sophisticated way to wake you up to that, but it's really doing what it can. Your psyche is doing what it can to help you
Yeah.
somehow. You can think of it as a dumb friend. Its methods are like ridiculous, but it has a good intention.
Sure.
And just that I've seen unstick, maybe not hundreds, but at least dozens of people.
Sure. So anyone that needs, like anyone that's listening right now and let's say they need a little bit of help from
Mm.
you, what's the best way to contact you?
So the discovery call that I mentioned might be the best way. So what that is really we just set up a time through a system on my website and we talk. So you tell me what's going on, what you're hoping I can do for you. And I, even if you don't know what that is, that's okay. I super honestly tell you what is possible, what I can do, what I cannot do. And then we can set up what's best, how we can work together. So I do have courses. I do teach meditation. I teach visualization and everything we kind of talked about. I have a beautiful online course for that. And I work with clients one-on-one as well, online during these times, and
Right.
in Montreal in person when we can do that too.
Sure. So again, it's ingebroer.com, right?
That is the right. Yeah,
Okay.
and all my offerings are there.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so with that, thank you so much for your time.
Thank
It's been a
you.
pleasure speaking to you, speaking with you about all these amazing subjects. And thanks for enlightening us with your point of view.
Thank you so much, Andrew. This was really great.
Awesome. Okay, so have a wonderful day. Okay.
You
Okay.
too.